So this is where it starts. This is what we're working on today. It's a built-in entertainment center, if you will, for like a secondary living room in a customer's house. And this is where I got the material. I got it from a local hardwood dealer. Instead of paying $83 a sheet of 3/4 birch, I paid $50, and it's much nicer. Before I get started ripping these sheets down, I have this multi-purpose blade in here. I'm going to change it out to this 60 tooth that I have on hand, fine finish, avoid some of that tear out with the plywood. And if you can tell, I also have this at an angle from my last setup. We'll get that straightened out with this Wixie gauge. And I do have this all unplugged. I'm gonna go ahead and raise it up and set the angle now. What I'll do is set it on my table, zero it out, move it over to the blade, crank it over till I hit 90. I'm gonna be careful not to drop this nut down in there because it's pretty hard to get out. Of course, you want to check your orientation. The teeth should be facing you. Just give it one ugga. And right here, I'm gonna start ripping down those 3/4 inch sheets. Double check my measurement on the table saw. Got the little dust collection running. This is my favorite setup, the way I have my saw facing the garage door, so I can just back up and slide the sheets straight out of my truck onto the table saw. I'm ripping these all to 15 1/4. So once I add the face frame, I'll end up with 16-inch cabinets. This is for the lowers. So I'll get these sheets all ripped and move on to the next process. All right, now I got 2 sheets ripped into 15 1/4 inch pieces, and I need to cut them to size. A little cumbersome putting the boards long ways on the table saw, and my miter saw, even though it's 12-inch sliding, it doesn't quite go 15 1/4. So I've got these lined up. We're gonna mark it and use the track saw. I need 36 1/2. I'll set it here and check my depth first, but I'm not too concerned about cutting into this table. It's an old table that I want to rebuild anyway. I'll be doing that soon. Got the Kita 40 volt. You definitely don't have to have a track saw for this process. I just happen to have one, and so that was the easiest solution for me. You could use a straight edge, anything for a straight edge, and a circular saw, or you could just use a miter saw, cut halfway through, and then flip the boards over. whatever works for you. We'll get these all cut to size with the track saw and see what we've got going next. Should be starting assembly pretty soon. These are the vertical pieces for all of my bottom cabinets, so even if my 36.5 was off a 16th one way or another, as long as I'm using the same process, putting that track saw on the line every time, they'll all be the same. Right here I'm just using one of the bottom panels to set up my stop block, and then I'm going to cut some mounting strips for the cabinets to go along the back and the top to screw the cabinets to the wall, and then to screw the top to the cabinet body itself. Alright, I think I've got everything I need here. This is my side, it's going to go vertical. Here's the bottom. I'm using this scrap 1x2 just to keep the bottom off of the floor that much. So these will just be legs essentially. So I'm gonna go ahead and clamp this in place. I'm gonna put glue here, stand this up, shoot it, nail it. And I'm just nailing these from the ends because nobody's gonna see the sides of these cabinets. Alright, like that. I can see that this edge is perfectly lined up. I'm going to shoot it just to hold it for now. Trying out these new screws. Hi, let's focus there. Can't really focus for shit, can we? Okay. It's supposed to be for hardwood, no pre-drilling. We'll see. This is going to be the basis for this assembly. All the sides aren't seen, so getting two 18-inch brad nails to hold it in place, and then 4 screws and tight bond 2. Which, this would be the back to allow me to screw it to the wall. I'll have 2 on top. I have a small one on the bottom there, so it won't interfere with the drawers. I'm going to go ahead and cut through the rest of this assembly. It gets a little mundane, so we use some editing magic to skip that. We're going to finish putting these lowers together, and then it'll be basically the same process on the uppers, but we'll go ahead and skip to the next phase. This is what I got. Spax 1.5 inch MDF and hardwood construction screws. No pre-drilling, and they actually work. But they're not splintering out the plywood on the ends. Two of these are going to have cabinet doors on them, like I said. So I'm going to use this Craig jig, put shelf pins in there. Pretty neat, easy to use. Comes with an alignment pin and a little drill bit. So we'll knock these out front and back on 2 of these units. However high we think we might want to shelf, and I'm starting all the way at the top. what I was rambling about here, and then you see me measuring, is that shelf pin jig is based off the bottom where I started on the front. Well, on the back, I already have that 1.5 inch stretcher piece across there, so that kind of screwed me up. So eventually what I had to do was get an 1.5 inch piece or something exactly the same size as that back stretcher to put on the front to space me out evenly. This is what I use for my edge banding now. This thin rip jig, you adjust it to whatever thickness you want. You get these nice thin strips. Works better than glue on. Show you what I'm doing here. These are going to be the shelves. This is just premium pine. I'm going to use it for edge banding. I just cut it with the thin rip jig. We're gonna lay these out. I'll do 2 at a time right now, get glue on them. Now you know what, it's not gonna dry that fast, it's pretty cool. I'm gonna go ahead and put glue on all 4 of them. Put our shelf here. One of these strips. Drop it down on there. And they're lined up on the ends. So as you can see, I ripped thin strips of that premium pine, probably a little less than 1/8 of an inch thick, and I'm covering them with Titebond 2, lay them on the end of the shelf, and just putting a bunch of blue tape on there, painter's tape, to hold that strip in place until it dries, and then we'll clean it up with the router or sander. This works out pretty well. It works a lot better than the adhesive edge banding you buy in the rolls. Here's what we have so far. The 2 outer carcasses are going to be drawers, and the 2 centers are going to be cabinets. Get the top put on, start working on the face frame, and keep going. Right here you can see I'm working on the top. I already have that small right section in place, and what I did was laid it out so that the joints will be underneath the verticals of the upper, so you won't see those joints. We'll get these cut to size, put in place. We're just going to screw them from the bottom through those stretcher pieces I put on the carcasses and move along. Alright, starting day 2 now. This is what we have. First day we saw all these bottom carcasses made. Got this one mid section made. There'll be 2 more on the sides, and then we'll have a top row. We've got a few pieces of plywood ripped already to 11 1/4, which is the size I'm making these. We'll cut up a few of those pieces and then have to rip some more plywood. More of the same. Got my measurement here, stop block set up. It was nice to cut these uppers to size. Like I said, they're 11 1/4, so my miter saw can handle that. I didn't have to mess with the track saw. So I'm just gonna bang these out, get all of the pieces cut to size, and then we'll start assembling those. I had to grab the old RZ mask out of there. Miter saw is the worst offender as far as dust in my shop. Alright, this is going to be the same process as yesterday. These are the carcasses for the 2 middle center pieces. Throw some glue, a couple brad nails to hold it until I get screws in there. Same thing, the sides are not going to be seen. They're going to be butting the other cabinets and the wall. So. You can see I have my speed square there. So what I do when I'm assembling cabinets is I'll get a brad nail in the top just to hold the board in place, the shelf, and then I'll put that speed square up against it, make sure it's 90 degrees to the face frame, and get one in the bottom, and then I can add my screws. I just use the brads to hold it in place to make getting the screws in place easier. Alright, this is my last carcass I had to get together. This is the mid-upper section. It's got all these shoving units. This is the only one that has exposed screw holes. There's just a few right here, 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 here. So I'm going to use this Fema wood filler. Works pretty decent. I was lazy last time and left my scrapers dirty, so I'm going to have to sand those off first, and then I'll get these filled in. See, you get your scrapers dirty, just hit them with the sander. Good as new. And what I was saying here was when I apply my filler, I leave it a little proud. That way, once it dries completely, you sand it off and you don't have any voids in the holes. Just got back from Lowe's and Home Depot, unfortunately. I hate going to Lowe's for construction material, especially if you need help or anything. Anyway, went and got some 1/8" backer board. I'm gonna put the backs on these uppers. We'll get those sheets ripped to size. And once again, I'm just putting them straight on the back. No rabbits or anything, because it's not gonna be seen. I'll put wood glue on all the ends of the plywood, 18" brads, and it'll be fine. Right here I'm going to rip down those 1/8" backer panels, and they're not so fun to run on the table saw. They're super flimsy, so you see it first. I had a problem of my assembly table being too far away from the table saw, and the board was trying to go down between it. I scooted that up, and you'll still have problems with them flopping around, but at least they're not heavy, I guess. The nice part is all my upper cabinets are the same height, so I can just rip these 4 sheets the same dimension, and then we'll use the track saw to cut them to the individual lengths we need. Alright, here's the back. Got some 5/8 brad nails. Turned my gun down. I'm gonna make sure that one of these panels fits. Better fit since I cut all of them already. Perfect. We'll get a bunch of glue on here. Well, not too much glue because I don't really want squeeze out. Well, I'm just getting a thin bead of glue on each plywood end, and then we'll lay our sheet in place, get it lined up perfectly how we like it, and shoot a bunch of brad nails in there. And it is a bunch. I didn't measure them out, but I would say every 4 to 6 inches I was putting one all along the perimeter, and then I'll mark off the shelves right here with the drywall square and put them about every 4 to 6 inches there too. Then I just picked the carcasses up, clean out any little bit of squeeze out, and started the process over. I had 6 of these cabinet units to put backs on. It went pretty quick though. Got these shelves from yesterday. There's our edge banding. Solid thin strip of select pine. There's not much hanging over, so I'm just gonna hit them with the sander real quick. All right, actually we're gonna try to save a little time and hit them with this little flush trim bit. Done. Here's what we have so far. Here's the shelves we made. Got them on shelf pins. This one here. This one here. Those are gonna be cabinets. I'm sorry, those are gonna have drawers. These will have cabinet doors. Right here is where the TV's gonna go. Shelving. This little guy goes up there. That guy goes up there. And this one goes in the top. The middle. So yeah, like I said, about 10 feet wide, 10 feet tall. I think that'll be it for this video. We'll follow up next week and do face frames, drawers, cabinet doors. So check back for more.